Hey everybody, this is Nick Inman, founder of VolumeProfileTrader.com on Tuesday morning, March 26th, and I just want to give you a little update of the markets. First things first, let's go into the S&P. We're looking on a 2-hour chart here, overnight included, and we have a good upsloping market, which is now potentially on the brink of kind of failing again here. So we've already had something different since the beginning of March. March we had a good steady uptrend, then we gapped lower, basically filled that gap, and since then it's been a lot more range bound, two-sided market sort of thing. So what I'm looking for here is this median line that I drew, or pitchfork, however you want to call it. It's been a really good support, and we one time it was a good buy, 2 times a good buy, 3 times it was good until you got stopped out, and then we broke below, basically retested these lows here, then went on to make new highs. So that was interesting, right? Probably shook out some of the shorts, and then right after that we got another push to the downside. Now we're on the opposite side of that median line, so we'll wait to see if this fails. But be cautious if you're on the long side. I think there's some speculative shorts out there that you can look to get into. The first thing that comes to my mind is the short that I put out on Goldman. I wasn't right in the timing because it was an option position, but I was right in the price action. And the short was off of this bar here. So you basically got, and this is kind of how I analyze this, pretty much just price action. You have your uptrend here. We fail. Something changes here, and then you get another rollover. So you have a lower low here. Excuse me. You're getting this breakdown. And in short term, if you're looking on like an intraday chart, the trade here was to be short, right? And then we bounced. Let me zoom in a little more. You get this little double bottom, higher low, however you want to call it, and then you have your upturn, bam, this bar comes out, big volume, and we break below these lows, so I feel like something structural has changed again. So what do? I go in and draw some pitchforks like this, and just to get an idea of the potential slope, and you can see it's done a decent job to at least give you the slope. If you just look at this line here, has this slope described price? And you could say, yeah, it has. Price has pivoted both up and below it. But I put on a weekly spread, 150 by 145, if I recall, on this day. It didn't hit it, but had I gone out longer in time, this would be a profitable position, trying to take the position off now. Because, most of the profit has already been realized, I'm sure. But that's the way it goes. So, anyways, going back. So S&P, we have to watch for a potential breakdown. NASDAQ, I have way too many lines on here. Let's focus in on here. This thing continues to actually hold this trend line here. Not great, but not bad. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete all these. Let's start from fresh. What we're seeing here, we have our higher lows here, and then we have our flat top. So we'll see the resolution of this, but this month's point of control is at 2796 or so. So call it 2800, your line in the sand. If you get a rollover at 2800, especially if right after that rollover you get a break of this little trend line here, you have a potential shot to the downside. I wouldn't be too eager, necessarily. Oops, sorry about that. I wouldn't be too eager to get short, for longer than a day trade. But if it's there, it's there. And then I look at something like LinkedIn. This is an obvious double top for right now, or I should say, this is obvious resistance at around 182. The structure, as far as that goes, this was a low here, and then we made a new low. So now we have a potential lower high only if this low gets breached. So let me repeat that if that was a little bit confusing. Here's our low. Here was our other low. We made a new low, which actually it kind of held, but technically it was a new low. And then we have our high, and then we have a lower high. And this big selling bar, if this follows through and we start to pierce below 171, then this would have been a great sell. So what did we do? Yesterday we went out and bought the 175 by 170 put spreads expiring in April. That gives us enough time to capture a potential move to the downside, which is really just a reversion back to the bottom end of the range. And, that's sometimes all you have to go for is, those little base hits. But when using options and using the right spreads, the right strikes, the right expiration, they add up. So, all right, 60, we had this downtrend here, which it, busted out of that, but nothing really changed. The slope just, as far as the slope just changed. We just started going less, the steepness, I guess you could say wasn't as steep. But it's done a good job at holding price, so watch for this median line. Watch for a potential bottoming pattern here, and maybe you get a long up towards, maybe up, 70 ticks or so. Nothing really that spectacular. I think the trend remains down, so you can stay focused on the short side here until it's not right to do so. So we'll leave that at that. The dollar. Oh my gosh. So many lines, right? Alright, the dollar continues its uptrending pattern. We've been range bound here. Here's the bottom end of the range. Here's the top end. Until that changes, the trend remains higher, so you want to focus on that. There's been a few short opportunities, but you've really had to wait until up towards north of 83, let's call it. So basically north of these prices, you could potentially look for a reversal, but I don't think it's right to fight the trend right now, so let's not. All right. Apple. No, not. All right. This has actually been a really nice long. So how'd the long set up? Well, if I recall, I'm going to zoom in here a lot. All right. We got our bottom, the median line, right? It's done a good job, not here, but you did get a double bottom here, or, a higher low here. So, if you're patient, it was right to wait. And here, you got a lower high, or excuse me, a lower low. So this wasn't necessarily right. Maybe you take a shot here on this bar, this, little higher low, but it ended up fizzling out. You probably took a loss on it. Too bad, so sad. So what happens here? You regain, you're back to the median line. Now you have a higher low. The trade, get long on the retest. If, retest with good volume, that's what you got. So around 429-ish, give or take. And, be patient, be patient. We didn't make a new low, so it's still right to be long. Then we have a higher low, a higher low, higher low, breakout, bam. Okay, once it breaks out, now you're looking for the top of this median line, this downsloping line. Here, I'll zoom out so we can see it. This downsloping line. We test it again, and what happens? We can't make new lows here. So notice that. Just because, okay, if you took the short here, the retest, the short, that's fine. It's a valid trade. However, when it doesn't make new lows and just continues to go sideways and then pierces up and continues to make these higher lows here, get out. It's not worth it. Don't take a bigger loss than what you have to. It's not doing what you expect. The long, which we took, paid off and continues to do so. What happens? Yesterday we gap up and push towards this upper median line, this now upsloping median line. So let me delete some lines here. Bear with me 1 second. Alright, so you can see we have our upsloping median line now, and we got up to the middle median line where, look to take some profits. We got out at 469. So from 429 to 469, we've had a pretty good trade. We took out half at 440, excuse me. And then, we took out another half, so fourth, at 469. Now we're just going to let it run. If it goes up to 500, let it do so. But don't, just at least minimum keep your stop at break even and kind of go from there. So, but this looks pretty good. And really, that's all I wanted to cover was just a couple names and the main indexes. I can't really think of anything else other than if you want to take a look at some international markets. So look at Europe, look at Shanghai, markets like that. You can see they're kind of rolling over, and which means the U.S. is a little stronger structural wise, but the other markets are definitely rolling over. And whether that means it's just going to be a buy the dip scenario, not sure. But I would be cautious, which is why I think that you can start looking at speculative shorts. Miss the one on Goldman, but look at Morgan Stanley. Once you got this breakdown here, if you were patient enough, it was right to be a seller on strength, especially against, last month's point of control, where we pushed above it for one session, afternoon session, and then the Monday after we opened lower, retested, and ended up failing. So that's just kind of the way I look at it. So anyways, take care, have a great one, and I'll talk to you next time.